What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Geekly Goods. We're here to talk about Joker tonight, which elicited quite the feelings coming out of the theater. This was the first time I've felt this.
Look, this is different.
Adrenaline heavy.
It's a different movie than we usually talk about.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. It's like you love the movie for the fact that it's art, but you don't like the outcome.
Yeah, you don't like. Look, it's not like an enjoyable movie in the sense that most comic book movies are, where it's like, okay, there's a clear conflict. There's a good guy and a bad guy. It gets resolved a certain way. Some bad things might happen along the way, but good triumphs over evil.
Right.
This is not that.
Whereas, Cap swings down and beats Red Skull, or Batman defeats a Joker. That's not the case.
No.
Here.
This is a movie about not good things happening.
It's a very deep trip into the psyche of the Joker.
Yeah.
And that is something that, honestly, we haven't seen with the comic book genre at all.
No, we've never. I'd say the closest we may get is like the Netflix shows with Daredevil kind of going into the Kingpin or something like that. But in the movies in general, we've never actually taken deep dives into what causes a villain to be a villain.
Mm-hmm. And this really gives a close examination of what makes the Joker crazy.
Yeah.
And honestly, I guess I just want to start with the transformation. Because we start with this, kind of broke down, clearly psychologically unsound man.
To be straight up, he's mentally ill.
Yeah, he's mentally ill.
This isn't a well-adjusted person.
No. He's
that
not
turns into the Joker.
Right.
This is someone, he says at a certain point he's on 7 different medications.
He's not just kind of like a broke Joe, you know, who gets bullied and whatever. No, he's a mentally ill. He needs to be in the hospital.
Right. And he's not.
Yeah, he's seeing somebody, like you said, there's 7 medications, and they're going to pull him from those. And it's crazy to see the entire movie and how it truly is a dialogue from barely sane to complete insanity by the end.
And it also is a big part of this is a weird takeaway from a Joker movie, but the need for social services, mental health care, proper use of medication. At the end of it, I was like, man, this whole thing could have been averted if he just took his meds and stayed on them.
Mm-hmm. And his program wasn't ripped away.
Exactly.
And there's and what's crazy is this is the reality. These things have happened.
Right. Yeah.
And this takes place in the
80s.
70s, 80s?
81.
Okay, so late 70s, early 80s.
So what you're thinking of, and it does a really good job of drawing a parallel, is early Reagan, right before crack hits. This is straight out New York City. It evokes Taxi Driver, King of New York. I mean, Martin Scorsese was a executive producer for a long time, and it shows. This is a Scorsese.
It is. It's got De Niro
Scorsese
in it.
light, basically. Yeah.
And what's crazy is it's all right, Taxi Driver. This is, as close to this movie as it gets, and it's you got Robert De Niro in a leading role again.
Right.
And it's kind of Robert De Niro is almost set up as kind of that heroic character for the Joker in the beginning until a certain event in the movie happens.
Well,
and
he
becomes the...
And here, look, since we're talking about kind of the heroic and the idol thing, this is an interesting point to bring up the incel criticism going into this movie, right? And in case you don't know, a lot of people have talked about, especially in reviews and the media in general, they've talked about how this is kind of a incel hero of sorts. The Joker is an incel. He does things that incels do. It's a toxic situation. And now I don't want to get nitpicky on this, although I love to be nitpicky.
I was going to say, I'm actually surprised.
Yeah. But one of the big things of being an incel, as we kind of learned what that term means, is a kind of a celibacy that is not their own choice and a rejection by women, right? And kind of a scorn from females. Now, the one thing, where this film veers from there, is that the Joker doesn't really... He doesn't even have a relationship to be scorned from.
No, not really.
He kind of idolizes a woman from afar, but it doesn't go where you think it does, and like
it's not at all how you would assume looking at the trailer.
Right.
Not at all.
And like the negative doesn't come out of that. And so this kind of branding this an incel thing is a little too broad of a brush.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's quite incel because there is
I see the
some
similarity.
but there is some kind of romantic tension there.
Yes.
Like there is interest, especially in Zazie Beetz' character.
Yeah. And it's reciprocated in a way.
Yeah,
In a way.
Won't spoil, won't dive
Yeah.
too far, but
Yeah.
it's definitely interesting, and it's, to be honest, I didn't see it coming.
I didn't either.
I was very surprised.
Yeah. So I just wanted to talk about the incel thing a little bit, and kind of the parallel between incels and school shooters and mass shooters, and this whole thing of, is this going to be a blueprint for the mass shooters and for people who are kind of on the fringes of our society? And that difference from the incel thing, on one hand, I think it kind of takes it away. But on the other hand, I can clearly see this as if you're already going down this road and you watch this movie, this could be a thing that you actually do
and see
associate with.
That's my worry.
Mine too.
My worry about this film is that it almost idealizes this character as somebody who could inspire these events and actually make this happen, and anybody who might be on the edge of that could watch this movie
and be like, "Oh,
this could be me. I could be him.
I could be this."
And that I'm really hoping that doesn't inspire any of that.
No, and to be honest, anyone who's not like any normal, fairly well-adjusted person isn't going to have that reaction.
Not at all.
You're clearly going to see what this movie is, and it's, to be honest, it is a work of art.
It is. But man, the main character is not a hero, and he's not somebody you're rooting for.
No, and it's interesting. I've been reading a lot of reviews to kind of test the temperature, see where I was at. And the word anti-hero comes up a lot.
Yeah, and see, that's not the case here.
This guy is not an anti-hero.
That's not that. And
he's a villain.
Yeah, he's clearly a villain. And I want to point out one scene in the movie, and I'm kind of spoiling a little bit here, but not entirely because this was just my take on the movie.
Yeah.
There is a scene on the train where the Joker, and this kind of references a scene earlier in the movie, which is in the trailer when the guys steal the sign from him and beat him down.
Yeah.
There's another gang of guys that do the exact same thing, but instead of kind of squirming and being hurt like he was in the earlier depiction, this time he was stern with it, he took it, and then he ends up killing those guys. And it's like, I'm sorry, an anti-hero doesn't do that. An anti-hero is not just going to gun guys down without some sort of payment, without some sort of motive, without...
Or knowing that they're really, really bad guys.
Yeah.
Not just a simple confrontation on a train and like...
Just like they were like bullies.
Yeah, this is... It's hard to talk about because it is a fine line.
Yeah.
And it is. And it's this thing, though, where it's like... He's not an anti-hero, he's a villain, and this... Little things like that are the reasons why.
Exactly.
He's not saving someone because of this. He's just hurting someone because he can.
Because he wants to. And I mean, after that scene, he dances, and it's this liberating moment of, I finally found something that brings me joy, and that's chaos and destruction.
The violence sets him free.
Yeah.
Now, again, we're going to keep repeating this because it's hard. Like some people on the fringes are going to look at that and say, man, that is a blueprint, that is an inspiration, I love this character, he is my idol. But I'd say 99% or more of people who watch this movie are not going to come away with that. They're going to be like, this guy is messed up, and he is a pained and hurt individual and really damaged.
Yeah, it's a disturbing depiction.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gritty, it's violent, and it's a yin without a yang. There is no Batman.
Yeah, it's a nice way of putting it.
There is no balance to this destructive, endless stream of chaos.
Well, it's an interesting thing that having no Batman in this movie, I mean, no spoilers there. Everyone knows that Thomas Wayne is a main character.
Right.
Obviously,
Bruce Wayne is a child.
If Thomas Wayne is a character, you can't have Batman.
No Batman.
That's pretty obvious. So, without a balancing force of Batman to continually stop the Joker throughout his spree, if you will, you realize how dark and twisted and messed up the Joker is as a villain.
For real. That's the thing. That was the thing about Batman being that balance line. He always wants to fuck with Batman. Right. So he's going to do stupid gaggy like shit. Like the bang or like, oh, I'm going to kill this person. Actually, I didn't. Ha 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 ha. Like,
but with no one to stand in his way, he's
endless
just
stream of destruction.
Ready to set free.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's interesting to see. It certainly takes it to a darker place and takes away the comic book aspect of it. Because honestly, I know this is a comic book villain. I get that, but this is not a comic book movie.
No, it isn't. It is not your classic Avengers, Superman, Batman film. Like this is a psychological thriller of a man slipping further and further into insanity to the point where the insanity becomes him.
Right.
He is confident by the end of this movie. When he slips and he mentally is destroyed, that's who he is.
Now,
he becomes more recognizable at that point.
Yes, and where the entire movie you're kind of like, oh, this is kind of the Joker. But at the end you're like, this is the Joker.
Definitely the Joker.
But here's what I will say. Joaquin Phoenix crushes it.
Nails it, man.
It's an automatic nomination. Like, if he doesn't get nominated, it's a crime. And two, I can't imagine a better performance this year.
Seriously, there's not one. I mean, look, loved Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Loved that movie.
Loved Ad Astra.
I have yet to see it, but once I do, I'm sure I will love Brad Pitt's performance. But this was just a whole other.
It's just not even close.
Dude,
like those people are acting.
And Joaquin Phoenix is living it.
Acting.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, dude lost 52 pounds to do the role. He's laughing. And what I love about this depiction of the Joker is that the laugh is a tick.
Right.
And it's like kind of part of him. It. Yeah, he can't help it. Even if it's like, even if he's nervous or it's a situation he doesn't want to laugh, he bursts into laughter.
It's almost, honestly, when he doesn't want to laugh is when he's laughing.
Yeah.
And it's kind of it actually made me think about the Joker in general. Through comics and through the history of it, and like, oh, if this is the case, there's times when he's getting just beaten to pulp by Batman and he's laughing
his ass off,
and it's like, well, this makes sense if whenever he's in pain, he actually laughs, and it's this kind of weird thing. It was a cool device.
I loved it.
And the other thing I will say is that this is one of the best depictions of mental illness I've ever seen, and when I say best, I want to be careful with that word because I don't mean the most enjoyable or fun or anything like that.
You're not cheering for him.
It's accurate.
Yeah.
It's not something he can help. There's a thing that he writes in his journal at one point, and it's the worst part of having mental illness is everyone expecting you to act like you don't.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's pretty real for a lot of people out there. And to be honest, that's a daily struggle. And what this kind of, especially the first half, obviously when he gets a little further into the character of Joker as opposed to just the normal guy, it goes a little off the rail or a little further into madness. But like for the first half of this movie, he's a person struggling to keep a job, have relationships, go have a societal interaction, take care of his mother. Like he's having real world problems.
Yeah, as a mentally ill man.
Yeah, and carrying that mental illness with him. And then it takes over his life, which for a lot of people it does as well. So this is one of those things where I know it's a comic book movie, I know this is a villain, but the look into mental illness was actually pretty stirring.
Really good dive, and you know, there's a scene in the movie that actually pops up in the trailer where the woman's child is like, he's kind of making faces at him, and she's like, you know, stop messing with my son. Well, slight spoiler again. After that scene, just like a couple beats after, he starts bursting into laughter.
And he
doesn't mean to, and he gives her the card that tells her, you know, hey, I can't help it. I have incessant laughing. I laugh when I don't want to.
Right. It's a card that most people, like if you're blind or if you have like some sort of tic or Tourette's or something, would have.
Yep. Yeah. It's like, it's a pretty realistic, jarring, and like just a wholesome depiction of mental health in itself.
And you can see they kind of pull back, and he's laughing and he's trying to stop.
He is. His expressions aren't laughing. You know, he's stressed, he's upset.
Which, again, goes to the acting of Joaquin Phoenix.
Phenomenal.
To be able to laugh and have like a real pained expression on your face at the same time alone is crazy. Incredible. But then, so it pans back and he's laughing, he's trying to cover his mouth. and everyone's kind of slowly turning to him and judging him and ostracizing him, and you can feel the loneliness and the, I don't know, just kind of the like everybody kind of pushing back from him. And
you can feel the people's eyes on him, and then the isolation that it creates is pretty evident. And I just,
it's not somebody that I necessarily like. The Joker, you don't feel bad for him per se. You're certainly not rooting for him.
No,
but you definitely empathize with him.
You do.
And you say, like, man, this is what's happening to you is unfair, and it shouldn't be happening this way.
Especially, and you think about the mental illness community, and you're like, wow, like these type of things should not be happening to these individuals.
Yes, and it's obviously some form of a caricature and a larger than life portrayal, but there's truth in these sorts of things.
Absolutely.
And one of the takeaways I had at the end of the movie was very much that, man, we really need to work on our social services, our mental health care. Like, that's...
Because...
To come out of a comic book movie and say, like, wow, we should really be thinking about how we're treating our mentally ill people around this country is
very
impressive.
Profound.
Yeah.
Like,
and I don't know if that was intentional. From every interview
I would say it is.
I mean, it kind of feels like it has to be. I mean, every interview that Todd Phillips has given has been utterly disappointing. But kind of the blase.
Can't make funny movies in this day and time and age.
You're like, all right, man, maybe you should just talk about what you're trying to do.
Right. Like, I just want to talk about what you're trying to inspire by this movie, like what you're saying. And then there's like this other half of the movie as well, because the people that do join in with the Joker, they aren't necessarily the mentally ill; they're the poor.
Right, the poor, the downtrodden.
Yeah, there's like this whole class battle going on in the background.
Which is interesting.
And it's a pretty interesting take because...
Again, early 80s, if you draw the parallels to Reaganomics and all that, there was a huge income inequality.
Oh, yeah.
And then if you want to come out... I mean, the parallels between the early 80s and right now, a massive drug epidemic, insanely huge income inequality.
1% and everybody else.
Yeah, a lot of struggles, a lot of infrastructure falling apart, social services breaking down. It's hard not to draw these parallels.
It really is, man. But out of 10, what you going to give this one?
Look, this is the movie of the year so far.
Easily.
I have not seen a better movie that has gripped me and said, you can't look away, no matter how uncomfortable it is. So, just straight up, I'm giving it a 9. A 9 out of 10, and this should be in the contention for Best Picture, Best Actor. I'd even go
Best Cinematography.
Best Cinematography has got to be up there. Best Directing. To direct this kind of an acting performance.
For real. And like, it's such a small cast. It's very much led by Joaquin.
There's maybe 5 characters that have any substantial time. So it's kind of one of those things where, do I think it's going to win every one of them? No, probably not. There's going to be other movies that take some things, but this needs to be in the conversation. And for everyone dismissing this as an incel movie or a violent kind of blueprint for mass shooters, I would really take a second and think about what this actually means in terms of mental health and why you're having that visceral reaction to this.
Absolutely.
And why there's a parallel between what's happening in this movie and what's happening to us today.
Yeah. It's got a lot of references to actual real life today
really
and
does.
in the 80s.
Yeah. And if you can't draw those, take another second.
Yeah.
But
you'll be able to distinct reality and fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about yourself?
I gotta go a 9 out of 10, man.
Yeah.
Like it's the best I've seen this year by far. This is the first movie, honestly, I've walked out of in a long time that's elicited this type of response from me.
I'd agree.
One of awareness, of just uncomfort and distraught and just the mix of emotions. And honestly, I was speechless walking out of that movie.
You really were.
I was very much
and
choked
that's
up.
pretty rare.
Yeah, I really didn't know what to say.
Yeah, we were kind of trying to talk about it, and you definitely had a very big reaction, and I couldn't put the words together.
I couldn't really pin any words together, man, because it just... When you walk out of that movie, you walk out and it's like there's a main character, but you don't cheer for him. And that is
certainly not
the first time I have ever really felt that way.
No.
Like, you know, we're so used to heroics. We're so used to superhero movies where the superhero swoops in the end, saves the day. The Avengers come in. That doesn't happen here. There's even a shot of Bruce.
There is no superhero.
No, like
this. Yeah.
there's no hero, and it really got me.
It cuts you to the core, and
yeah.
I think that speaks to the artistic nature of this film.
Absolutely.
Any movie that elicits this strong of a response, whether you like it or hate it or whatever, getting this kind of reaction and talking about it and thinking about it, that's art.
Yeah.
And
Amen,
it could be bad art, it could be good art, but that's art. So kudos to Todd Phillips.
Yeah, this was a solid piece, and everybody, I would recommend you give it a try because, like, I know there's a lot of conversation around it being the blueprint for mass shooters, but just give it a try. It's not reality. You know, it's set in a fictional universe.
There's an artistic response to this, and I really think that if you walk into it with the mindset of this is art, it's going to elicit a response, and I'm going to at least have an insight into, you know, what this kind of person might be thinking or experiencing. You might come out with a little bit of a different viewpoint.
Yeah, I mean, it honestly, for me, I was like, wow, our mental health systems need to be improved.
Yeah.
Like, they need...
It's obviously
more
exaggerated
attention.
in this,
but very much so. But,
yeah.
I mean, we got to do better. But, guys, let us know if you're seeing Joker, and if you've already seen it, let us know your thoughts down in the comments, per usual, guys. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button, that like, and ding that bell as well. Where is that? I can never figure out where it's at, man. It's somewhere around this area.
Around here.
But, you know, hit us up. Let us know your thoughts on this one. It's a big, big, big movie. And dives a lot into the Joker's mental psyche.
Yeah,
let us know. And we'll see you next time on Geekly Goods. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow Geekly Goods on all social media platforms. And grab something from our store. We take $1 of every purchase and donate it to arts education to keep arts in the classrooms. We'll see you next time.